Quotations from myself, segment 60. Quotation number 759. When doing good to others, one should not expect gratitude. The best that do-gooders can hope for is not to be despised and abused for being so weak and timid as to be incapable of doing evil. Oh, let me try again. When doing good to others, one should not expect gratitude. The best that do-gooders can hope for is not to be despised and abused for being so weak and timid as to be incapable of doing evil. 760. It must be self-evident that wisdom cannot be obtained without knowledge, for it is hard to imagine a wise man who is ignorant. On the other hand, knowledge by itself does not necessarily lead to wisdom, for there is no shortage, unfortunately, of knowledgeable men lacking wisdom to support this assertion. Sometimes the knowledge can even be a great impediment to wisdom, when it breeds the arrogance, but wisdom and arrogance cannot coexist in one man. One necessarily negates the other. 761. One who wants to save the world will have to accept that among the saved there are going to be a lot of people he personally would rather have nothing to do with. 762. To save my faith, or to save, that is, to live my life, that is the question. I am 85, my life is coming to an end, and I still have no answer. 763. The full enjoyment is only possible when one has no fear of losing what one is enjoying. Thus, the indifference which Stoics enjoin us to cultivate must be directed not toward the things one possesses and presumably enjoy, but to the loss thereof. 764. Man masturbates to free himself from the tyranny of the cunt, woman from submission to the dick. 765. The woman one was dating and the woman one is married to are two different women. For every woman has at least two personalities, one before and one after marriage. 766. A lot of marriages are like the British monarchy. That is, even those who know that it doesn't make sense anymore think nevertheless that it isn't worth the trouble to abolish it either. 767. The one who starts from the premise, I am going to die, and another from the premise, I am going to live, even if they have everything else in common, like age, lifespan, abilities, interests, etc., will still have completely different lives. 768. If, with attainment of nirvana, the otherwise endless cycle of rebirth is broken, then a legitimate, even unavoidable question should be posed to Buddha. Suppose all human beings reach nirvana. Would it mean the end of the human race? 769. To the degree I accept others as they are, I accept myself as I am. And to the degree I accept myself as I am, I accept others as they are. 770. Not by orgasm alone women live, but by 771. The universe is expression of the multiple personalities of God. 772. For many people, the easiest way to release themselves of forever knowing doubts whether their way of life is the best possible one, or everyone seems to be in need of such certainty, is to find some faults with or even to denigrate and condemn those who think and live differently than they do. 773. If the attainment of nirvana presupposes the ending of the cycle of rebirth, then it can be achieved by humanity as a whole by stopping the reproduction and thus depriving the souls of the dead of the bodies of the newborn to inhabit. 774. A man would not change his ideas, feelings, and behavior just because he has been proven wrong by somebody else's superior arguments. It takes a long time and a lot of experience, most of it very painful, for a man to begin to think and act differently. 775. Though everybody praises fairness, which is essentially self-serving, since nobody wants to be treated unfairly, there is such thing as being too fair, especially when dealing with ideological opponents, or it could easily backfire. A good example of this is provided by Thomas Aquinas, who, when writing Summa Contra Gentiles, in order to be, or to appear to be, fair to non-Christians, studiously and conscientiously enumerates all their objections against Christianity. And he is so good at assuming, for the sake of objectivity, their point of view, that to an impartial reader their arguments appear to be much stronger, lucid, cogent, logical, and commonsensical than his own subsequent arguments in defense of Christianity. Consequently, the so-called Gentiles, infidels, and heretics, by reading Summa Contra Gentiles, are going to be strengthened in their beliefs rather than being disabused of them, which makes the whole purpose of writing Summa Contra Gentiles self-defeating. 776. Though a man is free to choose, the choice is limited by external circumstances and the freedom by his inner state. 777. Some people view the rest only as a passive and better be grateful receptacles of their wisdom. 778. I do not ask others to agree with me. All I want is for them to understand what I am saying. 779. As one undoubtedly learns more from life and personal experience than from the exhortation and sermons, no matter how wise and well-wishing the teachers are, and since life is so infinitely varied that it contains in equal measures the multitude of the opposites, one's natural tendencies are only going to be reinforced as one goes on living, but not change. For while the one who is predisposed to be kind finds many reasons and opportunity to remain as such, the one who is naturally unkind finds equal number of excuses and motives to stay unkind. And the same rule applies to those who are naturally honest or dishonest, brave or cowardly, moral or immoral, etc. Thus, from the cradle to the grave, We don't change, but stay the same. 780. A book of poetry in which the excessive artwork often obscures the meaning of the text reminds me of a woman who, uncertain of her beauty, uses too much makeup. 781. How irrational it is that we tend to condone some of the most odious instances of human behavior on the ground of their universality, when in truth they have to be condemned that much stronger the more common they are. For the more widespread moral failings are, the more grievous suffering they produce, and consequently, the strongest efforts have to be made, instead of condoning, to condemn and eradicate them. 782. Unlike those who wouldn't take no for an answer, I for one come to accept it as a natural response life invariably gives to the powerless, and consequently I based all my plans on such an assumption. I would go even further and admit that by now I find no as familiar and comfortable as the old, well-worn-out shoes. It is the yes, on the contrary, because it's so unexpected, that frightens me and throws my well-constructed inner world into complete disarray. 783. I am ready to subscribe to any set of principles as long as I don't have to follow them. 784. Like everybody else, I dislike to be told to do what, given a free choice, I would rather not to do. But even more so, I resent being asked to think differently than I am accustomed to, and which is my natural way of thinking. But what makes me really angry is to be literally demanded to feel what I don't, and perhaps even incapable of feeling. 785. One can acquire perhaps a better appreciation of human behavior and hopefully develop bigger tolerance toward humanity at large by entertaining a proposition that most men and women never grow up, either intellectually or emotionally, since their formative childhood years, and remain essentially children in the physical body of adults for the rest of their lives. If this supposition is accepted as true, it could also help to explain why the few who not only look but think and behave like real adults consistently find themselves out of touch with the rest, for no amount of intelligence, which is predominantly self-referential, can help much in understanding of those who are substantially different from us. It is also possible that such real adults have never been real children in the first place, and their physical form just has caught up with their inner essence when they have grown up, which makes their effort to identify with the rest so much more difficult, if not futile.